Welcome to Pulse Check, where we have quick conversations to help people across Alabama live healthier lives. With summer approaching and National EMS Week underway, we wanted to speak with someone who has dedicated years responding to emergencies, protecting lives, and serving our communities. I'm so happy to introduce you to Captain Jason Cups with the Prattville Fire Department. Jason has served in the fire service since 2006, first with Montgomery Fire and Rescue, and now with the Prattville Fire Department. Beyond responding to emergencies, he has also helped educate the communities he serves through public information efforts, photography, community outreach, and storytelling around the work first responders do every day. He recently earned his bachelor's degree from Columbia Southern University, and most importantly, he's a husband and dad who deeply understands how quickly summer fun can turn into a serious emergency if we're not careful. Today, we're talking about summer safety, from fireworks and grilling accidents to burns, emergency response, and what people should know about the incredible work EMTs, paramedics, and firefighters do every day. Jason, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, we'll get into it. So it's National EMS Week. Can you explain what EMTs and paramedics do and why their role is so important?
Right. Well, EMTs and paramedics play a huge role in public safety in the world of first responders. As firefighters, you get your EMT training as part of the Fire Academy. So for most fire departments, all of your firefighters are EMT. And then if they want to go on to become paramedics, they can go achieve that level of certification, which we absolutely suggest and we hope that they go do, but it's not a requirement. It just gives that higher level of service and you acquire greater skills and ability to be able to help people more. So but they respond to a multitude of emergencies, everything from a stubbed toe to a car wreck, to a heart attack, to a trauma of any sort, and everything in between. We're talking stomachache, diabetic, seizures. I mean, there's pretty much, if you pick up the phone and you call 911 for any emergency, you're going to get at least some EMTs and firefighters there.
What do you think people don't realize about the work first responders do every day, just a day in, day out of it when you're handling 3 calls, 5 calls, 20 calls?
Right. So that is a fantastic question. And I was thinking about this because there's several things as far as what you would really want people to know about the work that they do. What I think people don't really understand is the level of training and the level of attention to detail it takes. How many decisions are being made almost simultaneously in such a short period of time? And what I mean by that is by even just when they, on the way to an incident, when they're en route, they're already thinking about, because usually you have notes from your dispatch about what the possibility of what kind of call you're going to. So you're already kind of forming a game plan before you've even laid eyes on the person. And that's a good thing because you kind of know what equipment you're going to need, what medicines you may need, and you can go ahead and grab those when you get off the truck. But then also sometimes you get in the door and all that goes right out the window because sometimes just the situation, whoever's calling is so panicked or afraid that they don't do a good job of describing what's happening. So when you walk in the door and you see a person right away, I always use the example, if they're rolling around on the floor or if they're screaming, at that, they're conscious and they're breathing. So, I mean, you at least have that. But if you go in and somebody's completely still and not moving, that kind of takes that awareness and heightens that what's going on here. So many assessments and decisions are being made simultaneously within the first 60 seconds of you walking in that door. And some of those, every second counts when you're on these emergencies. So if someone is in cardiac arrest, you got to be able to recognize that. Because usually if someone has witnessed it and they go check on them, then they realize they need to call 911. They call, the call comes in, we get dispatched, we get on the truck, we get to the house. It could have already been 5 or 10 minutes, even with a great response time of 4 or 5 minutes. At this point, it could have been 10 minutes and that person's chance of survival has gotten pretty slim. So right when you get there, you've got a lot to do. You've got a lot of decisions to make. What treatment you have to do, what medications you need. Do we need to load this person up and go right now? Do we need to work on here on the scene? And the same applies to any kind of medical call, but also vehicle accidents. We've got other vehicles flying down the road. We've got people stopping to look. We've got everyone trying to video to become viral on YouTube or social media. there's a lot of factors that go in about everything you do is under the microscope as well. There's a lot of pressure. They do a lot and people don't realize it.
So they're always thinking about what's next, who may be watching, how to help the person out of a dangerous situation as quickly as possible. And they arrive on scene, it's chaotic a lot of times. So let's
Yes.
talk about something that happens before someone, an EMT, a paramedic arrives on scene. When we're on the road, when they're on the road, there's sirens, emergency vehicles. What do people
Mhm.
need to know about safely moving over and getting out of the way? And why is that so important?
So the old phrase is if you see the lights, pull to the right. And what it still feeds true today. Like if you hear emergency sirens and we all have more distractions in the car now than we ever have before. But a lot of times when you hear the lights or you see the lights or hear the sirens, they're probably closer than you realize. But don't panic. Don't slam on the brakes. Just slowly pull over to the right, whether that be from the left lane to the right lane or onto the shoulder as best as you can, just to give them room to get through. They're trained to stay in the left lane and try to always stay to the left as much as possible. Um, yeah, but just main thing is don't panic. Just ease over to the right and try to give the right of way to the emergency vehicle.
I think that first part you said is really important. Don't panic. I always
Right.
panic, but then pull
That's
yourself
just
together and get it.
it'll be okay.
Well, what can communities do to show support for EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, and emergency crews, not just during EMS week, but year round? Like, for example, and you know this, my daughter is a firefighter in a local
Mhm.
city, and someone dropped off a bunch of ice cream, and that's awesome. It's EMS
Yeah.
Awareness Week. It's important. But what are some ways people can show their support year round?
Right. So there we do have a lot of that. Like just like you said, we're very blessed with usually fire and EMS has a great public opinion. I think that we're out here doing a good job. It's our job to show up when people are having some of the worst days of their lives. So usually if we're at someone's house, it's because they called us, they want us to be there. As far as supporting year round, and I'm not trying to like appeal for followers or votes, but if you follow the organizations that they're on with social media, they put out safety advice. We do here in Prattville, and I know other departments do as well. Everybody wants to see the action that we post and all the calls, but when we put out safety information, it's usually for a reason. Either we've seen a trend in those things lately. Like say if I put out information about cooking safety, maybe the past few fires we've been on have been because someone left food unattended on the stove. Or if we got, like we're going into summer now, we'll be putting out information like we're going to talk about today about fireworks safety, grilling safety, pool safety during summertime. And we want you to know that information. So supporting us could really be the preventative side. If you can help either, follow the safety information or help distribute the safety information, then maybe we'll have less calls and less people get injured or, need our services. So we're always here 24/7, 365, but we're one of those, services that you hope that you never see. So but that would be a big help as far as sharing some of the safety information. But dropping stuff off at the station and just a quick, even if it's not food or drinks or anything like that, just a thank you card, maybe a kid colored a picture or something that they want to bring by. We hang those on the wall at the fire station. We love those. It's just always great. They are safe. They're public places. So if you ever want to tour, most fire departments are happy to schedule that for you. And you don't always have to schedule. You can just drop by. Because if the trucks are there, then there's someone there. If they're not, they're on a call or they're training somewhere. But yeah, we're very grateful to have a lot of good public support.
That's awesome. Well, you were speaking about things we'll get into a few minutes from now, but what are some common misunderstandings people have about calling 911 or emergency services in general?
So I was thinking about this question as far as the misconceptions people have about calling 911. I think there's a couple. One of the big ones that jumps out to me after doing this for almost 20 years now is that people believe that they're going to go first in line to the emergency room. If you call and you're sick, now we will help you get to the emergency room 100%, and you will be seen. But just like on the scene of a major accident, if you watch TV or if you know anything about EMS, they call triage. And that's where how early you're seen is determined on your severity of sickness or your injury. So if you call and you've had a toothache, and I know that sounds silly, but we've had people cough a lot. If you cough because you've got, and it may be a bad issue, I'm not saying it's not, but if you've got a pain or an ailment that you've had for several days and it's just gotten to the point that you can't take it anymore, yes, we could help you get to the hospital. But if someone's coming in and they're having a current heart attack, or if they're having a seizure, or if there's a child being born or something, you're not going to get seen before those people. So we've had people that we've taken to the emergency room. We go straight to the emergency room out to the waiting room, and they go sit in the waiting room with everyone else. and they get irritated about it sometimes. And that's not EMS's fault. That's not the hospital's fault. The hospitals are full. They're busy. They're doing what they can with the staff they have. And like I say, patients have to be seen in order of how they come and how order of the severity of their illness or injury. So there's that. And then there's also, when EMS gets to your house, when paramedics or EMS comes to your house, they're doing everything. Like I said, there's lots of decisions being made all at the same time. We're also trying to learn that patient's medical history, their medications. Maybe have never met this person before in our lives. So we're trying to gather, we don't know all the back pieces and all the pieces of the puzzle that have gotten to the current moment. So just be patient. They're trying to ask you questions. And if they're frustrating, it's because we have an assessment that we have to do. And that's how we gain knowledge on how to treat you better. So sometimes I know when we're in pain, it's human nature to get kind of irritated or snappy, but just be patient and know that they're doing what they can because they're trained to do that process. There's steps that we go down for assessment, and it will help us get all the pieces that we need in order to make a correct decision on how to get you the help that you need.
Perfect. So calling 911 is not necessarily a golden ticket straight to the back, and you may still have to wait.
You may still have to wait. And there are some emergencies that we can treat in place. And there's sometimes we may ask you if you've called your personal physician, your private doctor, because a lot of times they can handle things, they know your history, so they can handle things maybe on that level without it getting to the ER. But at the same time, we're not allowed to deny anyone, nor would we, access to the ER. We just want them to know there may be an extended wait time. A lot of times when we go, I said the emergency rooms are so busy that there's people on stretchers backed up in the hallway. And so it may be 30, 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour or two before you even get to an actual bed. Now that kind of ebbs and flows with how busy, when we get into flu season and other things going around, those come and go a little bit more. But yeah, your wait time could vary.
And the other thing that you said that caught my attention was if you've got something, for example, a toothache or a headache or, just something that's been bothering you, go during business hours, go see a doctor or go to one of the locations,
Yeah.
that could see you during regular hours. And then if they want to refer you to the emergency room, then they can send you to the hospital. But if it's something that you've been dealing with it for a while, then it may not be something that would get you seen really quick.
Right. It may not be, we're going to treat, we know that it's an emergency to the person that called, even if we realize it may not be a super emergency. So we're going to treat everyone with dignity and respect and try to get them the best help they need. But like I say, yes, your doctor, your physician, your dentist, your specialty doctor, or ortho, or whoever you're dealing with, they know your history and they could probably refer you to someone or maybe even help you. And it's cheaper for the patient as well. You won't have the insurance costs for the emergency room, and usually copays and things like that are higher for those kind of emergencies. So it's really beneficial for everyone if you can handle it out of the ER if possible.
Perfect. Well, as summer rolls around, what are the most common injuries or emergencies that you see?
All right. Yep. So summertime are common emergencies. Obviously, being in Alabama is the heat. Right off the bat, it's ramped up. Not only because people are outside, or the temperature obviously hotter, but people are outside enjoying summer. We've got sports camps, band camps, cheer camps, and stuff for the kids going on during the summer. So all of those added outdoor activities, we're being more active. The temperatures are hotter, humidity's up. We stress hydration for the community, but also for our firefighters during shift, before shift, after shift. A lot of people think, well, I had a Gatorade or a sports drink, or maybe I had something to drink, but it wasn't water. We stress just straight water. It really is as much as you care to drink, because as hot as it is here, it's going to get out of you pretty quick and sweat it out pretty quickly during these summer months. And we see a lot of heat related emergencies with people either at work and they've got overheated, or even people that maybe just go for a walk in the park. And they, just maybe it wasn't a normal time of day, or maybe they just didn't account for the change in the humidity. And they may just get a little overwhelmed, sit down on a park bench, and then not be able to get back up. So they'll call for some help, get checked out. And like I said, that kind of translates also as we get on into summer with sports camps and activities for kids. Honestly, even with as physical as some of those camps are, the heat emergencies happen more than actual physical injuries. And we probably wouldn't realize that, but that's one of the biggest deals we see here. fires as a whole really kind of go down during the summer. Wintertime when people are heating their homes and using space heaters and different things, that we see fires go up as far as that time of the year. But more, I think our numbers go up during the summer months because people are in school. There's more people going on. We're just general medical calls and things of that nature.
That makes sense. And what you're saying about hydration is really smart. So if you do want to drink, like me, a Coke Zero, then have a water, then a Coke Zero, then a water, and then another, maybe do 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 ratio. Add that water in during the summer.
Yes, yeah, we always suggest um, at least a 1-to-1 ratio, preferably a 2-to-1 ratio for sports drinks or anything else that you drink, just to get the water in and keep hydration up.
Perfect. Well, what's the biggest misconception people have about fireworks safety?
Oh my goodness,
And how many
little
fingers are lost in Alabama every year?
right. So the biggest, hopefully not that many, but there's always at least one. We try to post something humorous about that. About we just with the holiday coming up, we hope that everyone has all 10 fingers on July 5th. So we'll see. But I think the biggest misconception is that the accident is going to happen to someone else because people are like, well, I know what I'm doing, so that's not going to happen to me. And then it ends up happening to them. Luckily, I mean, well, most cities have ordinances against fireworks. I know that really doesn't stop people when everybody wants to enjoy some on their own. If you're, around a city or and out in the county somewhere that has a show, I would say just leave it to the professionals, the license, or the city puts a lot of time and effort, or the municipalities around put a lot of time and effort and resources into the 4th of July celebrations, and just go enjoy those times with your family. But if you do want to celebrate, um, couple things that you can definitely do is keep some water nearby. Keep a either a bucket of water and or a garden hose or water hose. If you have any that are duds, and don't go over and grab them. Soak them completely with a water hose before you even try to pick them up. Because a lot of times that little piece of the fuse that's left inside, it just a little spark. You go to pick it up, and you don't want to be the one that loses the fingers for something like that. Um, Also, with fireworks, if people are drinking alcohol while they're using fireworks as well, that's a pretty bad recipe because everyone's going to say, "Hey, watch this," and then I'm going to set off this whole bag of fireworks at the same time, and then it ends up being a disaster. So, avoid being around someone, or if someone is going to enjoy alcohol responsibly, maybe somebody else handles the fireworks. Let's not let that be the same person. So, I would stay away from those two and just be careful with you know, we always put out worried about pets too with the loud noises, make sure your pet's safe and they're okay. Small children obviously do not need to be handling any fireworks of any kind. I know we had a question about the sparklers on here as well, but we talk about sparklers. It's cute to have a picture of the kid holding a sparkler on the 4th of July, but just make sure that, that they're well supervised. An adult is right there beside them the whole time if that's something you're going to do, because they do get very, very hot and they can easily just with a flip of the wrist end up causing a boom.
Well, yeah, you jumped right into it. Those sparklers were something that we always, when my kids were growing up, we thought they were super fun.
Hmm.
And so that's really good advice. And then what you were saying before about trust a professional and
Right.
don't mix alcohol and fireworks if you are going to do fireworks. And then I
Right.
love the last thing that you said was never trust a dud.
Right.
It might not be a dud.
No, it may not be a dud, and you don't want to find out the hard way, get close to it. So
Find out
yeah,
the
I mean,
permanent way.
right. Find out the permanent way. But the sparklers are, for the most part, harmless. Just keep in mind that, I mean, obviously, when making the spark, it's extremely hot. So with a little one, like I said, it just takes a flip of the wrist to brush it against their leg or their clothes. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I've let my kids hold sparklers as well. I'm not trying to terrify anybody of all the fireworks. But just be responsible is the main thing. Just have somebody that's makes good decisions, that's around for the family and won't. And I wouldn't let the kids walk off and play with the sparklers by themselves. Keep them near you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest fear. If you hold it and light it and then you hand it to the child, then, you do that for a couple of years and then you have a 10-year-old who thinks, oh, I can do it start to finish myself. So
Right.
that's really the real fear is keep them close, or the real
Right.
advice too is keep them close to you and make sure that you're kind of monitoring the situation. Well, what about grilling, steam cookouts? What kind of things might we run into there that could cause problems?
Yeah, so grilling and cook-offs are great. We're doing a lot of them this summer, and they're a great opportunity for people to get together, share a good time. And again, we're not when we put out this information, we're not trying to make everyone afraid and say these things are bad. We just want to do it in a safe way. Um, but really, the first thing that comes in mind with grilling is making sure it's a safe distance away from your home. We usually catch one or two of these every summer where someone's got a grill right up against, let's say, an apartment complex right near the building or right near their home, and the heat from the grill ends up melting some of the siding on the building. It may not catch on fire completely, but it ends up melting and drooping on the siding. And it stinks really bad. It's burnt plastic. It kind of ruins the day for everyone. And we have had them in the past where they will flare up, and you want to make sure you're not underneath an awning, or you make sure there's no, not under a pavilion. I know we want to be under the shade or the pop-up tents. We all use those for shade at events like that, but don't have you. I mean, you can have it where you're standing underneath it, but the grill's not underneath it. And that way the heat and flames from the grill could, there's no danger of it catching the tent on fire, or like I said, even before it catches on fire, just about melting the whole thing, and you lost your shade and your pop-up tent at that point. But with propane grills, you want to make sure you don't have any leaks in your line. The line that goes from the bottle to the grill that delivers the propane. A good way to do that is just a little soap and water in a spray bottle. And once you've made your connections, you can turn it on and spray it down. And if you see any bubbles, like air bubbles are coming up in the like soap sud bubbles, then obviously that's a leak. And now you would need to replace your hose before actually using that grill, because you don't want to have a gas leak while you've got an open flame right there. So, and just being careful, I know we all use the propane swaps at a lot of the either gas stations or hardware stores. Just make sure the one that you get, that the valves where you screw it in is not damaged and the threads aren't messed up. Because again, it's all about, we don't want any gas leaks while we're using any kind of propane. And as far as the charcoal grills go, well, they're great as well. There's really about that is about when you get ready to dispose our ashes after everything, make sure they're completely cooled down. We always run into one or two of these every summer also, where someone takes the coals or ashes from the grill and they'll put it in their city garbage can, and then it'll melt the garbage can, it'll catch the garbage and the garbage can on fire. And sometimes we had one last summer that caught the garbage can on fire, then it caught the privacy fence on fire, but the garbage can was against, and then the fence caught the eaves of the house on fire. And right now, again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's just, those are random incidents, but it can happen if we don't just take that extra step to make sure everything's cooled down all the way. If you have ashes, don't put them in a plastic garbage can, put them in a metal container, or just let them cool completely and soak them down with some water before you get rid of them, just to make sure they won't. So even if you dump them on the edge of the property or something, you don't want to start a grass fire if it's been dry recently or anything like that. So just being smart about how you dispose of the ashes after you take the charcoal, and making sure you test your hoses for leaks on propane grills.
Those are great tips to get started. And I'm sure a lot of grills are going to be coming out soon. We're getting close to summer here. And you mentioned grills. Not just a fire, but you could burn yourself, right? So what
Yeah.
are the kinds of burns you see most often during summer, and how serious can they be?
Yeah. So we see occasionally the burns that we see during summertime. Honestly, it's closer to 4th of July. There's always one or two fireworks burns, or someone's either tried to hold one in their hand and it malfunctioned or didn't go off like they thought it was going to, and shouldn't be holding them in your hands. Grilling, if you're wearing loose clothing and you're over the grill, obviously not a good idea. We're all trying to wear loose clothing when it's hot outside. So just be mindful of what you're wearing. And if we get to talking to someone, making sure, you should be able to feel the heat, but making sure that you're not um, as close to the grill, especially when it's first ignited and those poles are running down. But as far as any other burn injuries go, it's really, like I said, it's people not being safe when they're discarding. Well, sometimes it's smoking materials. Sometimes it goes into a trash can and then it ignites the trash, and since the trash can's plastic, it catches on fire as well. And we'll see some burns to the hands or forearms that are moderate. Any burn is very painful, and it's a long recovery. Most people, we probably all know someone who's got either a scar, or we may have one ourselves from a burn at some point, even if it's just with a curling iron or something at some point. So, um, but those burns are painful and they're easily avoidable though. Just taking that extra second to be safe.
Well, if somebody does get burned, what should they do immediately and what should they not do?
Yeah. So immediately I would put it under cool water. Try to get cool water going on to the burn just to soothe it as much as you can. If you do try to wrap it with anything, you don't want to wrap it with anything that's dry, like a bandage, because if it is a bad burn, the skin can stick to it, and it's very difficult to get that bandage off. And it can be very painful because as it dries, it kind of sticks to the skin. They do have um, burn bandaging. That's kind of gauze to it. It's kind of got a almost like a Vaseline or petroleum jelly kind of built into the gauze. But when you open it up, it feels really wet and kind of sticky, but that's what you want to put on a burn. Of course, there's burn gels you can buy over the counter to help soothe the pain. They'll have like a lidocaine or something mixed into them to help kind of numb the area. But you just want to wrap it with something either wet. You want to either wet some bandages first to put over it, or if you can get burn bandages, that would be ideal. But if nothing else, cool water, run cool water over it, call 911, and we can come out and we can wrap that burn for you. That's one thing that we can do. We have those things on the ambulances and on the fire trucks, so they can come out and help wrap you up and help get you to the doctor.
That's wonderful to hear. So don't cover it up yourself because you might be smothering it and making it smolder and make it worse.
Yeah, sometimes we'll try to cover it up too quick. Really, it's to getting the skin temperature to cool down before we wrap it, so there's not any further and burning internally or anything like that as well.
Well, we mentioned staying away from alcohol because that can lead to a lot of problems. What are some
Well,
other non negotiables for families with children when it comes to preventing burns and injuries?
yeah, just having those conversations early and frequently through all age ranges about being safe around the stove and the kitchen, being safe with lighters or with candles in our homes, but just being safe around those from the recreational fire pits where we may have just a little fire pit outside in the evenings is great this time of year, or we're doing s'mores or whatever that we're doing. But just having those conversations about being away and being safe, keeping an eye and keeping supervision over those children. Obviously the talks that you may think are basic and they don't know if you don't tell them. So your kid's not going to know not to pick up a lighter or to light a roll of toilet paper in the bathroom or not to play with hairspray and a lighter or something like that unless you tell them not to. Otherwise, they're going to learn it on YouTube and then they're going to be captivated by it and may even want to try it. So, and then as they grow up, they get a little older now when they're coming home from school, they're help making themselves a snack, or maybe they're starting to help cook dinners. Then we transition into let's talk about cooking safety. Let's talk about what not to put into the microwave. So let's have these conversations, not just at a young age, but that's like when we go to schools, we talk to everyone from literally toddlers all the way to senior citizens about fire and life safety. So there's information online that you can, there's a quick search and you can find all kinds of information for all different age levels about just some really quick conversations to have. And there's even apps in the phone from Sparky, the fire dog. Sparky.org has tons of games on the website and that make it kind of fun. They have different apps that teach history, that teach fire safety. There's like, matching. There's any kind of game you can think of. They've done a really good job of making these things kind of age appropriate. And if your kid's going to have screen time and stuff a lot this summer while they're out of school, why not make them, you got to do 5 or 10 minutes on this app before you can go play this other game. So that way they can learn something while it's still fun before they go on to whatever else they're going to play with you.
So build those skills early.
Yes.
You mentioned that one of the great ways for families to prevent injury is leave it to the professionals. Find a really great fireworks show in your community, something that you can attend.
Right.
But what do you do if your neighbor is making bad choices or questionable choices?
So if your neighbor is making questionable choices with fireworks, you can call 911, even though you can report that. If it gets to the point where it's disturbing you and your family, or maybe it's either, shooting them towards your house, or it's frightening your kids or your pets, you can call and leave the fire department and police would come over at that point. Not a super big confrontational thing. Just saying, hey, you guys, there's an ordinance of the city. You're not supposed to be doing those. Or if they're out in the county, then they'll come out and just have a conversation with them. It's not a big deal. It's just like, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. So, but don't be afraid to make that call if it's what you need, because it's a quick, easy thing that we can do, and they can ease tension and ease anxiety for if it's something that you're experiencing.
Oh, yeah, perfect. So, have we missed anything? Is there anything else that families across Alabama should know about summer safety, fire prevention, burn precautions, and just EMS firefighter paramedic life in general?
Well, we got a lot. I appreciate the time. As far as the summer safety, I would say, as far as I would hope that if you have a pool, you have it fenced off in a way. Just keep an eye on little ones around that. Um, there's also some great programs in place around here where you can teach even up toddlers to what they do if they fall in the water. They can. I know we've got a place here in Prattville, and I'm sure some other cities do as well. It's like a swim prep, and it's for very young ages. You'd be surprised. But those kind of things, they don't cost a whole lot of money, and it could be a life-saving event. Or just make sure that kids are supervised around. And it's not just the pool. If you've got a pond on your property, or you're heading out, maybe you're going camping up at the lake or something like that. Just make sure that, and I know you're going to keep an eye on your kids, but it's easy for them to get away pretty quickly, and they're fascinated by water. We all are. It's just relaxing. So um, I would say, as far as the water safety, as far as that goes too, it's just keep an eye on the kids and make sure that they've got what they need to be safe around the water.
Yeah, that's really smart. It's very enticing for all of us at all ages. Well,
And
Captain
then,
Cap, it's been a blast, no pun intended. Thank you for
yeah,
spending time with us today. You mentioned Sparky. Is there another website where people can learn more tips?
yeah, so there's the National Fire Protection Agency, is NFPA. And if you type in NFPA, it'll take you, I believe it's .org. But then when you get onto the public side of it, there's tons of safety tips. There's sheets that you can print out on winter safety, carbon monoxide safety. There's lithium battery safety. I mean, there's everything you can think of on there. It's great stuff. There's a lot of information, and they put a lot of time. It's all federal resources that puts this together. It's kind of the standard for all fire services across the country. So we try to put out the same kind of messaging just so we're uniform. They put out the standard, and we're all on the same team. So we distribute a lot of information that they put out. And it's a good resource. I would say anything about the Sparky.org or Sparky Schoolhouse, I think, either one of those, or anything from NFPA, it's for information.
Awesome. Well, if anyone watching wants more information about Pulse, or you want to view more stories like this one, you can go to alabamapulsemagazine.com and request your copy today. You could be one of the first people in Alabama to receive it. And if you have any questions about guests or topics we should consider, please let us know in the comment.